Yeah, he doing his thing, man. What's up, people? JB Wins Dogon SS. We are here. Conscious Approach on YouTube. Thanks to everybody who is tuning in. Thanks to
You
everybody who clicks on the videos. Thanks to everybody who subscribes to the channel, likes, leaves a comment. We certainly appreciate the support as we continue to crank out this logical content. Uh, NBA playoffs are in full swing. April the 23rd. Shouts out to the Denver Nuggets, Team Nuggets over here. And before we get started, man, want to go ahead and always put that disclaimer out there. If you appreciate the content in this or any other video that we publish to this channel, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button. We certainly appreciate it. Let us know what you think about the commentary in any of these videos. We certainly appreciate that.
you
With those pleasantries out of the way, we'll go ahead and get things kicked off. First up, we are going to talk about Mr. Brian Williams himself, aka Birdman. Yeah, uh, the record label charlatan 2.0. He learned from the best after Diddy Puff, I would say,
seriously.
in terms of how to run a tight ship of a record label.
Mhm.
And Birdman recently was on a podcast, and he wanted to dispel the belief that hip hop has gone soft these days. So he joined Steve O. Anybody who is familiar with Steve O, the guy who made a name for himself doing crazy stunts on that Jackass show. Um that's how Steve O goes way back to like the 90s and early 2000s. Him and that other guy, Johnny Knoxville, when they had that show on MTV, Jackass, and they was always doing crazy stunts. So
Mhm.
Steve O now has a podcast, and Birdman was recently a guest on the podcast, and they got onto the subject about hip hop and how apparently it has become soft. But according to Birdman, he actually does not think it has become soft. He actually thinks that it's quite the opposite, that it's never been more violent, and that he hopes one day that the violence kind of quells and we get back to it being less about violence and more about good times in the music. So, providing a little context here, this article says Birdman shuts down theories that hip hop has become soft. There has been plenty of discourse about the current state of hip hop as of late, particularly amid all of the viral rap beef taking place online. It sparked questions of whether or not hip hop has become soft, as instead of hashing things out in the streets, artists' new go to is social media. During a recent appearance on Steve O's Wild Ride, Birdman chimed into the debate, revealing whether or not he believes things have changed since his come up in the 90s. According to him, things haven't gotten better in terms of violence. In fact, he thinks things have gotten worse. F no, the Cash Money Records icon said of hip hop becoming soft. We was cool back then without social media. Now these young N words killing. It's a different operation. You just got to know how to adjust either way. It's a different time from then to now. He went on to note that social media makes it easier to start problems with people and how immediately things can spread. Back then, we didn't have social media. So if you got a problem with an N word, who gonna know? Because you ain't making songs about no N word. But nowadays with social media, you got a problem. The whole world gonna know. It's just a different time, and I just hope it get better, bro. He said. Birdman elaborated, noting how he hopes the violence will come to an end once and for all. I don't want to see people losing their lives because that's happening. He explained. Even N words rapping are not rapping. People really losing their lives over social media. What do you think of Birdman's take on the current state of hip hop? Blah 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 blah. So I'm not going to play a snippet from the show because these days I don't know who is fair use versus who is going to hit you with a copyright strike for playing snippets of their own stuff on your own channel, repurposing content. So as a result, as always, all relevant links will be in the description of this video. You can click on this and hit that for yourself so that you can watch that and hear him say it for himself. But nevertheless, that is sort of a transcript journalistically of what he had to say about hip hop being more violent and people losing their lives and how it ain't as cool as it used to be. So, what's your take on what Birdman had to say? Is he correct? gotten worse? Has the violence gotten worse? Is hip hop, in fact, not soft as people might proclaim it to be?
I think um, I think he has a point in the sense that it's still violent, as violent as it's ever been. I would say that it is equally as violent, especially a lot of the stuff that he was responsible for putting out. I don't know where he's getting at with that. Now, I think where he's more or less what he's getting at is that they're actually taking it to the streets and they're actually being violent while they were just in the studio. So I think that's more or less where his angle's coming from. But as far as the lyrics are concerned, as far as the lifestyle that they're promoting, it's just the same level of violence. And I was doing myself some homework, if you will, listening to some old Master P, trying to figure out why everybody loves this Ice Cream Man album so much. Why it's such a heralded classic. Now, listen, I'm not trying to get in anybody's bad graces here if you are a Master P fan, especially the Ice Cream album. But I'm sitting here listening to it and I'm like, this is deplorable stuff here. Well, what he's promoting. And now that, hindsight, that everybody can see who Master P really is and see that he was more or less a mastermind of the situation and played the rap game more than him actually being a rapper. You can actually see him in a way where it's like, okay, yeah, you're just talking this stuff just to talk it, pretty much. And the things that he was saying was grape related, forcible entry, selling drugs to family members. The same stuff you hear now. And so this was in this guy's era. So for him to say that it's gotten more violent, I would beg to differ. I just think that there's just more rappers rapping violently because it's just more rappers now. But no, I think that this is hogwash. I'm not buying what he's selling here. Sorry. I feel as though that he was very responsible. If there is a Mount Rushmore or a four horsemen of the 2000s, he's part of it. And he's responsible for a lot of the garbage and dribble. And you can run down the line from Wayne to Drake, Nicki Minaj, and all of that. So this guy's very responsible for adding filth and sewage to the pipeline of people's earlobes. So I'm not buying this guy, and I call BS. So what are your thoughts, man? Do you agree with Birdman here? Do you feel like lyrics nowadays are more violent?
Maybe he's far be it for me to give Birdman the benefit of the doubt, but maybe he's like, because he's, what is he, like 50 something?
Yeah.
So maybe now, since he's getting up there, maybe now he's realizing, oh, maybe we took it a little too far. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe no, I'm not. I'm not giving him that. I'm just saying maybe that's in his mind. I don't know, because I hear what you're saying. He was definitely at the head of perpetuating a lot of the things that he claims to be a problem now, and I will say that I do think what he is trying to suggest is, before it was all on music records, and now they're actually taking it a step further and actually doing the things.
Okay.
But this speaks to some of the stuff that you've talked about before, where, like, in previous generations of these artists, the studio thugs beget the eventual generations of people who thought that in order to be genuine and authentic to this music and this culture, that they had to actually be in the streets replicating what they rapped about and what they heard about, without actually knowing that the stuff that the people that they got this from, that those, a lot of those individuals were not actually actively being kingpins and doing crazy stuff in reality.
Correct.
But if you look at what's going on with some of these guys and what they're getting into, it's hard to argue against what he's saying at face value. Now, I would have to do a deeper dive and to just see what the ratio of, like, rappers getting bammed up in previous eras is compared to, like, the current era. But if you do like a quick rundown on some of this stuff that's going on, if on the surface what he's saying isn't incorrect. Like, and we already know about some of the ones that are more mainstream, like Young Thug, right? Where he's got his Rico situation going on, and robbery and all of this other kind of stuff that he's got going on. But then you got other people like Lucci about to go away for a long time on some violent offenses. And then you got the C murders. It's a lot. It's a lot going on, man. Fetty Wap for his trafficking. You got that Melly kid.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a situation from down here in Florida where he's kind of looking at 2 counts where of the M word, taking people out. It's a lot of them,
Mm-hmm.
Blueface and Sue Surf, Casanova. That's another one with this racketeering and all of this kind of stuff. There's a lot
Mm-hmm.
of racketeerings and money launderings, which speaks to
Yeah.
the which speaks to the thing that you brought up before, where it's like scamming
Mm-hmm.
became part of the fabric of the culture of this music.
Mm-hmm.
So much so that in order to feel as though you are being authentically true to being a part of making the music, you feel like you have to be a scammer yourself. So now these guys, instead of making music and just basically being, walking personified fabrications, they're
Mm-hmm.
actually doing the scamming. They're doing the racketeerings. They're doing the money launderings. They're getting put in jail for RICOs. And I think the cautionary tale for a lot of this is an understanding that this is largely built upon a foundation that is not real. Like all of this stuff that came along with this music, where these guys are just basically trying to be real life kingpins, it was based upon the observation of artists that came before them who themselves weren't actually doing it.
Right.
So upon learning that they weren't actually doing it, it's probably wise to understand the importance of trying to develop or at least, you know, um, devise a delicate balance that you can strike between being a part of the fabric of the music and being as authentic as you can be, but not actually putting yourself in position to be put in prison for the rest of your life. And it sends a weird message to the rest of these young kids who want to be a part of this music themselves, because all they're going to do is continue the trend. So I kind of feel like what he's saying, even though it sounds a little weird because he's the one saying it, and like I said, he was a part of perpetuating it, a lot of it himself through a lot of the music that he facilitated. Uh, he's not entirely wrong from the standpoint that if you just kind of do a quick Google search on a lot of these guys who are kind of dealing with this kind of stuff, whether it's violent or whether it's just scamming or both, because a lot of them are doing both,
Mm-hmm.
the list does seem to have exponentially increased over the course of new generations. And so for that, you have to ask yourself why. Weird that it's coming from Birdman, but um, without doing any deeper dives on how it happened in the past and what the ratio was, the numbers do seem to be quite alarming.
I mean, yeah, bro. But I mean, I guess what he means by soft is like they not studio gangsters. I guess he's saying that their actions are more violent than ever, not their rhymes.
Yeah, I think what he was contesting was the assertion that there's more fake soft rappers in the game who ain't
Mm-hmm.
about that life. I think that's what he was getting at. People like Drake, for example.
Yeah.
People like Drake who get on these rap songs and talk about what they'll do to you when
Right.
everyone knows he's not really going to do that to you. And so I think it's a prevailing wisdom going around that there's a lot of fake studio thugs, and there
Mm-hmm.
are. And I think what Birdman was trying to say was it actually isn't. It's more, you know, people in the game who is about that life for real. But then he tried to turn it around to make it seem as though it's not actually a good thing. We need to have less violence. So it kind of seemed like he was trying to have his cake and eat it too.
Yeah, yeah, playing the fence there, but I get again, this is just a wrong messenger kind of situation. I don't want to hear this coming from him.
Yeah.
So, because I blame him for a large majority of this mess right now. Uh, he's just one of my people on my chart list.
Yeah.
Um, And let's just do a little time travel. Now, before his influence, and Dwayne Carter, all right, is a direct, all right. If this guy was the father, as they say, then Wayne's the son. Son was doing whatever was being commanded of him. And what Lil Wayne was doing was he started promoting drugs, like doing the drugs. And then he started promoting gang activity, gang affiliation. Now, we had gang stuff floating around, but it was not cool to be in a gang. Like, it wasn't gangs around. And then, but as soon as he started doing this red flag stuff, people started claiming Crip or claiming blood, and then it was like a whole bunch of blood rappers. And I was like, what is this? Then women like Nicki would come out with blood stuff on, like, I was like, what's happening here? And it was just a heavy promotion of getting young people locked up. Hey, we're not doing this for real. We're just wearing the flags. These new guys now, they need to calm down. It's like, what are you talking about? This is a direct reflection of your influence. So that's the part about this that just rubs me the wrong way. Is just that he to me, like I said, one of the four horsemen. I don't know who the other are, but he's definitely one of them. Diddy Puff on that list.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And Birdman's right up there with him. You know what I'm saying?
Suge might be the third. Suge might be the third one.
Suge's up there too. Yeah, he's responsible. He got his hand in some mess. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man. So I don't want to hear this stuff, but there's an interesting thing that goes on when you start to look back in history, though. So right now we have rappers who are actually getting locked up for RICOs. The people who they used to listen to were studio gangsters.
Right.
Studio gangsters, more or less in that wave of time, grew up around the crack era. Also, so we want to go back to that time to where, everybody wants to report about what's going on in their community and what they're seeing, what they grew up watching and witnessing. And so a lot of those people, again, they grew up in the crack era. Some of them crack babies. And then so they were talking about what they were seeing at that time. And so everybody knows the crack was going crazy in the 80s. And so if you just look further back, then you'll just see the influence or the increased amount of cocaine that was coming into the United States in the 70s. There's like a lineage. I can go further and deeper. But the point I'm trying to make is that cocaine in abundance came into the United States in the 70s. And then in there, the 80s, crack was a thing. And then once crack took over, people started doing the crack. People started selling the crack. And then the community started to go down. Values went down. Parenting and community went down. And the kids that were that we call studio gangsters, they grew up in that era seeing that stuff where there's not values. I can just talk about making, raps about selling drugs and murder or whatever. It's like no values from community because they got wrecked in the 80s. And then so those people started talking that food. And in the midst of all of this stuff going on, there's all kinds of other programming going on. But once these studio gangsters get in there and start talking that stuff where they were talking about what they saw and witnessed, now with these new people who are growing up, they saw and witnessed the people that were talking about it all the time, but weren't really doing it. And I'm going to be the real, what, and be out here actually finessing and selling for real. And so it's just a whole thing where drugs get introduced into our community. Now, 40 years later, we have guys actually rapping, glorifying, doing it. It's just a mess. And this guy right here served as a conduit
Yeah.
an assist. He was out here facilitating the trash. So he can sit here and say that, you know, we need to be less violent, either in our lyrics or actually one to one. Like if it comes to real beefing and people die on online stuff, like he can say whatever he wants about that. But that's way too late, bro. I don't want to hear anything from him or his cronies. So yeah, man, it's just a bad timeline, man. But if you will, people, you know, do yourselves a favor and look at some timelines in history and see what caused what, and or what led to what, or what had influence on what, and then you can start to see a story of, hey, this is what happened to our community, you know.
Yeah.
And the music is a large part of it.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, one of the things that I rail about, or one of the things that I have railed about a lot, is the notion that this music is like synonymous with the culture of our community.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that to be a dangerous thing to believe in, because the behaviors and the content inherent in the music, if you believe that your culture is that music, well then you're suggesting that your culture is that behavior and that content.
Mm-hmm.
And part of what made it so easy for people to believe that, in my opinion, was the glorification of a lot of a lot of that behavior. There was a concerted effort to make the content of this music in fact cool. And I mean, it's an age old adage that whatever black people in particular get their hands on, they can turn basically anything into being something endearing or being cool. Well, that means you can also take the contents of this music and turn it into something that's endearing and cool. A byproduct of that, however, is people are going to want to replicate that in future generations, because who doesn't want to do stuff that's cool?
Mm-hmm.
But when you're replicating things in future generations because you want to do something that's cool, you're replicating things that put people in harm's way. And you're doing it knowing all of this. So, in retrospect, it makes it difficult for you to be taken seriously when you talk about how we need to be better about toning down the violence. That part I don't really understand. However, the genesis of it is rooted in this idea of the culture and the music being synonymous with the community, and everything that's a part of culture is what's cool and what's supposed to be sort of you know um mimicked, sort of. That's what you see. It's your cultural signifier. It's cool, therefore I want to be a part of this, because we all have this intrinsic need to be a part of culture and community. That's why that message going all the way back to the late 80s was so effective, especially when you're dealing with a group of people who historically do not have a sense of community or culture. You can then supplant something like music in its place to make people act in a designed manner. So, like, you know, now we are sort of in the present and we're seeing the fruits of that labor. And unfortunately, um, these people are going out here and acting in a designed manner so that they can be consistent with the rhetoric inherent in the music. And that's the danger with this stuff. And we can go on down the list here. And let me make one amendment to what I said earlier, because I was a bit factually incorrect. I
Okay.
think I said Lucci's about to go away for a long time. That's actually not true.
Okay.
Based on the limited amount of research that I did, Lucci's getting credit for time served, and I think he copped a plea deal or something of that nature. But he should be eligible for parole sometime in 2024. But
Interesting.
be that as it may, my point is taken with a lot of the dynamics inherent in this stuff. So I agree with you when it comes to the wrong messenger type deal, because he was largely at the head of the perpetuation of a lot of these tropes going back to the mid 90s.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird to hear him speak on it now. Um, and it kind of makes me wonder whether he's even aware of the progenation of a lot of what's going on today. But I can say that, but then on the other hand, say on its face, what he is saying does have some merit, because I do think that there's been an uptick in the frequency of this. But I also think that he and his cohort share in some of the responsibility for that. So
Well, I mean, I guess because yeah, it went from being 80% of the music to 90%.
Well, just in terms of the sheer amounts of incarcerations, I think, and like the
Yeah.
sheer amounts, and that's what I'm saying. I don't know for a fact. That's why I'd have to do some
Mhm.
research to see what the actual ratio is, but it just feels like it's more. I mean, it just feels like every other day I'm looking on at some article of somebody who's getting locked up, who's a rapper,
Yeah,
you
or
know, and it gets weird.
unalived.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. But
Yeah,
yeah,
man.
Birdman talking about it is just kind of funny.
Well, again, a couple more examples just because it popped in my head. Him having videos stationed in prison. What's that about? It was like a whole phase in the early 2000s where a lot of videos were either stationed in jail or running from the police. This is what the whole video is. They're just running. Woo, 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 woo. What they running from? Or it's shot in situations where it's really slummed down. You know, that was like a whole genre set. Like even now, if you turn on some videos now, whatever these kids are doing, they're in some trap house, with money and 40 dudes, no women. So it's a lot of this weird stuff going on, but they learned that from somewhere. That's the blueprint. That's the blueprint. And this guy was responsible for help laying that. So hey man, kids grow up, bro, and they grew up learning this stuff, and what do you know? They're actually out here committing crime. Oh, hey, what do you know? Music actually impacts the psyche of the masses. Oh, I didn't know that. All right, these kids need to calm down. Nah, dude.
Yeah,
No, dude. So hey man, these
I'm
these
with
are
you.
all of your chillings out here, man.
Yeah, I'm with you. And one thing that we do need to stop doing because it is 2024 is talking about product of their environments and what's the other thing they say? Survival. Product of their environment and survival. This is what they do to survive. They are a product of their environment. No, they're just replicating things that they saw in the music that they listened to growing up.
Yeah,
These
product
were
of
their
trauma.
culture. Yes, these were their cultural signifiers. It's a product of mind control, not
Mhm.
necessarily a product of their environment. And I think that we need to draw that distinction because it's getting a little tiresome to keep using that excuse over and over again. They're literally replicating what they thought was actually happening via the music that they listened to, in my
Exactly.
opinion.
Exactly.
And shouts out to Marcus Dudley, perhaps the biggest member of the tribe on the chat.
Yeah.
Birdman should have put a caveat on his records. We are actually lying. If you actually do these things with any consistency, please do not be dumb enough. Put it in records. Yeah, I mean, we must have skipped that step. We definitely skipped that step. Um,
Or if you listen to this for X amount of hours, please consult a mental health physician. You know what I'm saying? There needs to be warning.
yeah,
There needs to be
yeah,
Surgeon General warnings on these dudes' music. How about that?
yeah. On the labels, yeah, yeah. But it's just, I mean, it's historical psychology for sure, and we can no longer. The prevalence of it is so much so that I don't think we can rest on the laurels of it being like they have to do these things to survive. No, they're doing these things because it was glorified and
Yep.
presented to them as a package to be consumed through music.
Yep.
And they're just replicating the process. And if we can be honest about that, then maybe what Birdman is suggesting can happen will. But until then, it'll just be a repeated cycle, in my opinion.
100, man. Hey, Birdman, get out of here with that. I'm not trying to hear that crap.
Yeah. What
Hey,
happened to that boy?
exactly.
He made a song with the Clips. Yeah, what did happen to that boy, Birdman? Why don't you tell us?
What's that with Eclipse?
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, make sure y'all like and subscribe too, by the way, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're on our way to 1K, bro. We close to like 700 right now, man. Help us get over that hump. Screw.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like and subscribe, baby.
You. Hey man, what's
Oh,
going
no, I
on?
can't wait to hear. I cannot wait to hear what you got to say about
It's
this.
crazy, bro.
I cannot wait. I'm very excited to talk about this. So, The guy that you see there on the graphic of the video, his name is Felipe Kendrick. Let me make sure I got that right.
Endrick.
Endrick, not Kendrick. Felipe Endrick. He is a
Mhm.
professional soccer player for. Who does he play for?
Real
I think it's
Madrid.
Real Madrid.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah. So he plays. He lives in Brazil. Felipe Kendrick team. Who does he play for? Yeah. Real Madrid. So this guy plays for Real Madrid. He's a professional soccer player from Brazil. And the reason why he is a topic on the channel tonight is because he went viral after the news went viral that he signed a relationship contract with his girlfriend. Now, this contract involves stipulations that must be adhered to by both parties, and any violation is the result of a fine. So, this is very much like a
Interesting.
professional sports contract or any contract, any term of employment. You a big time person, you sign a contract to work somewhere, there's things you got to abide by. If you don't do it, it can result in, like, fines, terminations, all sorts of other penalties. So this guy, via his relationship contract, has been the subject of conversation recently because his relationship contract with his girlfriend went public. And wait till you see the parameters of said contract from this guy, Felipe Endrick, professional soccer player for Real Madrid. So I'll pull this up. This looks like a TikTok video where some people were talking about it on TikTok. You can see the stipulations there. I'm gonna let the video run and then I'll bring it back so that we can read these stipulations in detail. But this is a Felipe Endrick's relationship contract with his significant other.
Hmm.
You hear about young talents taking silly contracts that ruin their careers all of the time. But have you ever heard of a player sign a contract with his girlfriend? Because it's been revealed that 17-year-old Endrick has signed a ludicrous contract with his 21-year-old girlfriend. A contract where if young Endrick makes a mistake, he has to pay a fine. In public, they have to be holding hands or there is a fine. If they don't say I love you, there will be a fine. If there is any change in behavior, there will be a fine.
Endrick has a dating contract with his girlfriend, and you won't believe what's the purpose of this dating contract. The 17 years old Endrick has showed up in a stream podcast with his hot girlfriend, and she mentioned that they have a dating contract, and it contains that they're not allowed to have sex with other people, and also they shouldn't maintain any relationship with their past lovers. Also, they shouldn't leave the house or go to bed if they were mad at each other's or they had a fight, and they're not allowed to have any form of addictions
or drastic changes in behavior. Arguing in public while expressing I love you in all situations is mandatory. Any violations would result in monthly fines from either part.
Monthly fines. So if we bring this back, here. So here are some of the terms of this contract here. And based on the video, it isn't one sided. They both have to abide by this. It's not just him. But it is strictly forbidden to acquire any kind of addiction, extremely forbidden to drastically change personality and behavior. Saying I love you is mandatory in all situations. You must always hold hands in all situations. It is strictly forbidden to discuss or argue in front of others. In any argument involving the family, you need to be on your partner's side. Don't dismiss the don't dismiss the person over others. Sleeping apart is strictly prohibited. Endrick promises to maintain open and honest communication, sharing thoughts, feelings, and concerns. Endrick promises to maintain emotional exclusivity, not to have romantic relationships with third parties or people they previously had relationships with. So it looks like those last two bullet points are specific to Endrick himself. Uh New human behavior? Is this new human stuff here? I mean, what do you make of this, man? So this is a real story. This is not made up. And there's fines associated with this. Violation of any of these stipulations results in monthly fines. This guy is 17 years old, a professional soccer player, and this is the current construction of his life. What do you make of this situation?
I think bro's ahead of his time. I think bro is I think bro found a life hack. I think that's what he just now. His rules is 17-year-old rules. Okay, so my rules wouldn't be like this. But I like it. I like the concept. Um just taxing her ass. But my thing is, um what's the checks and balances on this? Do I still have to catch you red-handed? What is this? So I'm sure there's no honesty policy. If X hit her up, one day she ain't gonna say, "Hey, I talked to my ex." It was nothing. She's not telling me that. So
If there was an honesty policy, how could you possibly enforce it? How would
what do
you
you mean?
know?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Like, yeah. How do you know that they're telling the truth? Like, how do you even enforce an honesty policy?
Well, that's what I'm saying. So I don't know what's going on with that. So you still would have to catch the person, I would say. And it still brings up all those weird feelings of all that weird stuff. And the feelings is the part that hurts everybody the most for the most part. Especially if it's just a relationship and it's not a marriage. So the part that hurts people the most is the infidelity and the trust breaking and all that other stuff. So that can still go on in the midst of a contract because you still would have to catch them. So I just like the premise though. I think it builds good culture. Um, I think it builds a good culture that there's something written down where there's rules that both parties agreed to follow. The fine part, in his world, I mean, he's got it. If he plays for Real Madrid while he's 16, 17, bro got a bag. So I'm pretty sure I don't know what they agreed on for the fines, but um, hey man, I don't know what she can do. I don't know I don't know what she does. So I don't know what the fine would do in those situations, especially if he's funding her lifestyle. So it's kind of weird. But again, I like the premise overall. I think that people need to come in a little bit more mature nowadays. I think there's a lot of immaturity in the dating market where people are just not willing to be responsible or accountable for the next person that they claim that they like or love. So having something written in black and white where people could follow the rubric, I think that's a step in the right direction. I think that's what people do when they have these conversations, but to put it on paper is a little bit more. I like that. It's a little bit more concrete. But those are just initial thoughts, man. I think bro's ahead of the curve a little bit. What are your thoughts, man? Do you feel like bro tripping here? Is this out of pocket or is this inbound?
It's unfortunately inbounds. So it's inbounds, but it's inbounds unfortunately.
Yeah.
Um, you know, we haven't done a relationship topic in a while, but I can remember going back when we did relationship topics. We talk about these some of these women out here, who talk about the relationship dating pool sucks. These men are this and that, and men can't stay faithful, and men always cheat. Blah blah blah. And my retort to that was always, it's not every man who cheats. It's just the men who you want who cheat. So if you don't want to deal as much with the cheating and the relationship chaos, the relational chaos rather, um, switch up your strategy. Um, give other kinds of men a chance. Broaden your horizons, open up your options, and explore different opportunities. You might find when you do that that not every man is going to give you the same experience that you've been accustomed to. But a lot of these women cannot help themselves. They cannot help themselves. They have to date pro athletes. They have to date entertainers. They have to date rappers. Now, this isn't all women. I understand that this is not all women, but it is a growing segment of people in general, but women more specifically, in terms of their dating preferences. As social media has shrank the world, from a social and communication standpoint and made it far easier for men in privileged positions such as pro athletes and entertainers to have direct access to women who, you know, work at Walmart, for example. You know, social media has made that much more of a palpable reality. So as social media has shrank the world, what we have seen as a result is a rise in some of these very niche specific dating preferences on the part of not just women, but men as well, but more specifically women, where women kind of feel as though it is well within their wheelhouse to date extremely young. They want to date they want to date ball players, they want to date rappers, they want to date entertainers, they want to date guys who are otherwise high on the pecking order. You know, they're rather high up on the food chain. Well, the thing is, and we've talked about the ratio, right? If all of the women are desiring to date a very small percentage of the men, because there's only like 10% of the total population of men that comprises such a specific profile. But if all of the women desire to date a man that comprises that profile, and that profile only constitutes at the most 10 to 15% of any given population, well, what do you have at that point? You're going to be sharing that guy. You're going to be sharing that guy. That's just the reality, whether you like it or not. Now, despite the fact that you're going to be sharing that guy, you still, in your heart of hearts, desire for things to be traditional. You want that guy to only want to be with you. You want that guy to only date you. You don't want him to date other women. But practically speaking, that does not make sense because you are making yourself exclusively available to a guy who, from a profile standpoint, has plenty of other options to choose from. So the question then becomes, how do you safeguard yourself against that? Well, let's have a relationship contract. If I have to deal with these things, if I have to deal with the constant threat of infidelity, if I have to accept this as my reality, despite the fact that I don't like it, then at the very least, I can receive, compensatory measures as a result of it. Pay me in fines. This is something that benefits her way more than it benefits him. But if I'm going to think practically on it, probably a smart move for her to be welcoming to it because he's an international soccer star. And from what I've heard about international soccer stars, when it comes to pro athletes, we think NBA players got it good in terms of having an unlimited supply of women at their disposal. I've heard that it pales in comparison to international soccer stars.
I can believe that.
Yeah, I've heard that it pales in comparison to international soccer stars. So you a chick who's out here and you want to date an international soccer star, but maybe there's some shred of wholesome that is still a part of your, you know, personality. You don't really want the dude to be cheating on you all the time. You don't necessarily want to deal with the specter of him dealing with other women, but you can't help yourself because you need to be with pro athletes. You need to be with a soccer star. What is a recourse possibly for you to be able to mitigate any of the collateral damage that would ensue as a result of your decision to be with guys who fit this profile? Well, how about a relationship contract? Now, he can go with this all day long. He's the international soccer star. He's got the contract. He's got the bread. For him, it's probably no different than Rasheed Wallace getting technical fouls. He'll pay that fine all day, every day.
Right.
Rasheed Wallace never cared about getting teased. He used to have a budget for technical fouls every season. He did. And I think Draymond Green does the same thing. Like Draymond Green has a budget set aside for techs and suspensions. He don't care about paying them fines. This kid don't care about paying these fines. He's still gonna do what he do. So who does it benefit the most? Her. Because she's a human being at the end of the day, and I don't care what nobody says. No one wants to deal with the constant specter of infidelity all the time. We can say how things are in the world and what things are willing to accept and not accept, and I'm fine with having that conversation all day, every day. But in an ideal scenario, no one wants that to be a part of their reality.
No.
Now, if you ask me, I say, hey, woman, maybe you need to not date pro athletes all the time. maybe then you won't be dealing with this cheating and infidelity and this affection and this disrespect and dismissal stuff, all of these things that are a part of this contract. Maybe you won't have to deal with that all the time if you just don't make yourself exclusively available to guys who have this kind of profile. But I firmly believe that women like this cannot help themselves. And she's a dime a dozen because there's so many other women in the world who just can't help themselves. They want to be a part of that. They want to up their social capital. They want to up their clout. They want to be seen with these guys. They want to date these pro athletes and these entertainers and these rappers, these ballers, these high profile men. Not to mention the fact that there's something about these guys that they do genuinely find more attractive than other men. So they can't help themselves. And if you're going to deal with this as a constant part of your reality, hey, go ahead, baby girl, do your thing. He signs, you sign. He's probably going to violate way more than you do. So I guess maybe the fines will help you sleep at night while he's out running the streets doing his thing as an international soccer star. And maybe from a moral standpoint, it'll help you feel better about the fact that you are accepting of this because you know that he's going to pay penalties as a result. But I definitely think that this benefits her more than him. Kudos to him if he tries to, stay faithful to the contract himself. More power to y'all. It's all well and good, I guess. But this to me is new human, new relationship stuff. I don't know if this kind of thing will trickle down to the main population. This might be something that you'll see happening more with people who are in this line of work, who live this kind of reality. The rock star lifestyle, might get wasted type of lifestyle. Shouts out to Gucci.
Mhm.
But this definitely benefits her more than him. And she's not going to stop doing this. These women like this don't stop being cleat chasers. So what can you do to reconcile your inability to cease being a cleat chaser? At the end of the day, get into a bag. And she's getting to a bag via this contract.
Yeah, it works to I guess as a young person. Wait, I hear an echo back there. All right, there we go. All right, yeah. So as a young person, this works for him. He doesn't know what's going on yet. As mature as he may be for his age, he still got a lot more to learn. I can tell by some of the rules. So, but when you young, man, you don't know what the hell's going on, and he might really like this girl like that. So how when you young, bro, everything's everything. And
17 is very young.
Yeah, it'd be times where I don't get no better than this. You like, hey, don't get no better. So he young and he drunk in it, and I think that's what's going on. So to keep his mind secure in that little world he's living in like that, I think this works for that reality, like you said. So as for the everyday person, trying to pull that type of thing, I don't know how much people are going to go for that, especially the fines part. Especially it's like, man, ain't nothing holding me to this. You know what I'm saying? How much it costs to void this motherfucker? You know what I'm saying? I was like, hey, man, I'm taking you to small claims. All right. We signed a contract here. So, does it get crazy? Do I got to take somebody to court now? Like, over, 1,500? She owed me that. Why? Well, she cheated on me with her ex. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, it's kind of wild, but hey, I'll take 1,500 because they be doing that stuff anyway.
Right. Exactly.
So I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I feel like little bro ahead of the curve. Now, I don't know if these aren't the right words and parts of lingo. I might have to ask Chat GPT to cook something up for your boy. But this sounds like a good little thing that people need to get themselves into, or at least on Front Street, these conversations, because I have them, man. When you're just laying down the rules of what you stand for, what your boundaries is, because, you didn't have boundary conversations initially, but now there's like relationship boundaries. All right, this is what I don't play. I don't play that, And so when you lay those down, they know them, they still get violated. So, but I think there's a science behind having something written down and y'all always revisiting that. along with that contract should also be a contract of goals for the relationship. Now this is for everyday people. I can't speak for young man. He's a footballer, international, so his lifestyle is in a different universe than ours. But for what I'm saying, the average everyday person, when they're just trying to figure this out. Damn, I forgot where I was going with that. Damn. But I still think this is just a good idea overall for everyday people to probably writing stuff down. So like goals and like headed towards something. So put it this way. I look at it like team sports. And I want to win. So whatever it takes for the team to win, I'm doing that. So and then the same thing, the same mentality has to be coming from, the partner. There is no star guard activity. There's no I in team, there's no none of that stuff. There's no me, I. It's always playing for the next person and doing the details right. Looking at it like that, even in a corporate setting for people that's not in the sports. And when the goal is written down, when there's aspirations, things that each party plans to get into, each party is dedicated to helping that person get to that next level. There's activity and nobody's bored. I think people be bored in relationships, so bored that they want to get in their phone and talk to somebody they shouldn't be. But if there's a mission and a goal that they're both fighting towards, if there's a mission that they want for their child, how they want their child to come up, and all of these good things, that this is something to build on and build towards and build up. But just merely having a contract and saying, thou shalt not, thou shalt not. You know what I'm saying? God wrote 10 of them in the Bible and nobody listened, and they claim they love God. So you can write stuff down and have people fear something. But if there's a program and a culture towards building the right mentality, I think that goes a lot further than a list of do's and don'ts. So, but yeah, good luck to this young man. But I really like that thing of writing it down, because I had these conversations verbally. Oral translation only goes so far. But if you write stuff down, people can, have that seep in a lot better. So I like the concept of putting this on paper. Maybe not a contract, but I'm definitely doing the goals thing. I like that concept. So hey, shouts out to this young man, balling at a young age. I ain't mad at him.
Yeah, if he's still wet behind the ears and he still has some wholesomeness and morals and values about himself, then I don't see a problem with it. Now of course there's I need to do a little more research on who this woman is, but apparently she's like a
IG model.
Yeah, or something to that effect, right? So the thing, yeah. There you go. Yeah. So when you're dealing with that kind of thing, I do not believe that it is beneath him to protect himself via whatever means, because those individuals just don't live the same reality.
No.
And at the end of the day, I am always in favor of anyone, but men's especially, establishing boundaries that they would like to be respected. And it's not about being controlling necessarily, because if those boundaries are not something that you can adhere to, then we don't have to be together. We don't. So if she's going to enter into that, understanding that, then more power to both of them. But at the end of the day, I do also understand the reality of the world. And the reality of the world is, what is the likelihood that either of them breaks this pact? And what is the likely and who is more likely to break this pact, her or him? And without knowing extensively who she is, I'm gonna say it's him. And so this is a chit that she has in her favor to benefit her in the likely event that such a thing happens. And if I'm going to be reasonable in how I feel about that, I don't really hate it entirely, because at the end of the day, she understands what she is getting herself into. And so she is going to get what she can out of it, knowing what she is getting herself into, instead of, getting onto the internet or going onto her Instagram after he cheated on her and complaining about all men and him and how, relationships suck and all men cheat and he cheats and blah, 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 blah. That's one thing that this to me mitigates. And I'm all in favor of that. This to me screams accountability on her part. And if let's say hypothetically speaking, in the future, things go south.
Mm-hmm.
and they don't work out, and they break up or whatever. If she were to talk about how he did her wrong and how it was a bad thing from the start and how she's a victim somehow, and she were to extrapolate that to relationships in general and men in general, which is what a lot of American women tend to do, especially these women who date these NBA, NFL rapper type dudes, that's what they do all the time. They victim they they are victims at that point, and they blaming the men even though they knew what they were getting into. She can't do that, and if she does do that, it'll expose her for the complete and utter lack of accountability that she has for herself, which is on brand and no different than the rest of the women who get themselves into situations with these types of guys as well. So I just think it's accountability all around, and it's not necessarily protection. It's just a practical approach to doing things in this new age when you're dealing with guys who got options and more options and more options and more options. It just is what it is.
Yeah. Hey, 1,000, man. Hey, let us know in the chat, y'all. Would you guys do a relationship contract? Is this something that, hey, bro, you should, it's like a poll or something that we can do for this? We should put a poll.
I gotta look at, yeah, there's a poll in the community tab. We can do a poll in community tab.
We'll put a poll in the community tab. If you saw the video and then heard about the poll, go to the poll. Let us know what you guys think when it comes to this. Would you guys do a relationship contract? You guys think this is a good idea? I kind of do. I kind of think this is a step in the right direction. It does definitely need to be refined, retooled. But just the overall concept, Dogon's in favor of it.
Yeah, I think it's a step in the right direction for the women. I don't know about the men, but we'll see. We'll see how it plays out, because bro gonna get his. Trust me, he gonna get his. That's all I know.
Yeah. Best of luck to you, Mr. Endrick.
Yeah.
Keep cooking, bro. Cool.
Now we're gonna get into Jill Scott taking some heat for coming to Chris Brown's defense, and she didn't even really come to his defense. She just admired his talent, and I guess in the world of social media, you can't do that, because to admire Chris Brown as a talented artist means that you are in favor of abuse. I guess that's the conclusion.
Yes.
That I guess that's the conclusion here. But Jill Scott, man, and who really has a problem with Jill Scott? Like, no one has a problem with Jill Scott. Like,
you would think, right?
Yeah, right. Like, she's Jill Scott. She's not controversial, but she got slammed on social media because she showed appreciation for Chris Brown, and more specifically his talent. And I guess, people who are not Chris Brown fans, they came out there to voice their displeasure with the fact that she went so far as to say, I think Chris Brown is a crazy talented dude. So this says Jill Scott slammed by fans for defending Chris Brown following abuse allegations. The internet wants Jill Scott to take a long walk and think about her controversial support for Chris Brown. On Sunday, the Grammy-winning singer was hit with backlash from fans after she praised the fellow entertainer for his talents despite multiple abuse allegations and his guilty plea for assaulting Rihanna 15 years ago. At Chris Brown is amazing. How does anybody sing like that, dance, look, act, and rap like that? Beyond gifted. It appears exceptional people have to go through exceptional bleep. There's nothing to debate, Scott, who's 52, wrote on X. One of the Golden Crooner's 1 million plus followers fired back at her post, writing, I think the women he's abused would disagree.
Oh.
Scott then defended Brown by revealing a personal anecdote about her mother's violent ex-husband, who was also a skilled craftsman. I doubt it, she replied to the fan. My mother's ex-husband, and this is where Jill Scott went wrong here. My mother's ex-husband was a mean, violent human, and he could lay foundation better than anyone in my city. What he did with cement was awe-inspiring. We got away. He got a raise and praise for his family. God dealt with the rest. Another ex-user argued, I love you, Jill, but he has so many domestic abuse cases. It's ridiculous. We can't look past that. To which Scott replied, I love you too. I'm not here to fight anyone else's battles. If, since women hear the stories, they should avoid that street. Running backwards in moving traffic makes zero sense. Therapy for every damn body. Outraged over the hate on me singer stance, her followers wasted no time criticizing her for victim blaming and sticking up for Brown. Jill Scott crashing out over Chris Brown and victim blaming women that were abused. She is not well. Jill Scott victim blaming Chris Brown's victims was not on my 2024 bingo card. I'm not super surprised about Jill Scott's take on Chris Brown because I remember the disappointment I had when she spoke in defense of Bill Cosby, for which I believe she later apologized. And then there were other people who actually came to Jill Scott's defense. Here's some of that here. I feel like Jill is speaking to the talent and all Chris Brown has been through. I don't think she was thinking about the other side at all. Y'all mad because Jill Scott called Chris Brown talented. Is he not? No way y'all are seriously dragging the Jill Scott because she called Chris Brown talented. Y'all truly have to realize that not every artist is going to have the same opinion on him like y'all on social media do. I love Jill Scott. I understand exactly what she's saying. I also understand that people choose to not ever support Chris Brown again. I think that people should be left to each individual, though. I think that should be left up to each individual, though. I don't agree with the trend of jumping down people's throat because they don't agree with you. Scott seemingly addressed the backlash in a separate post on X on Sunday. Look, years of prayer, therapy, self-reflection, and making every effort to keep my feet on the ground has made me compassionate for other human beings, she wrote. People go through bleep and do terrible bleep. We say we believe in God, pray for enlightenment. We are a living testimony. Scott didn't immediately respond to Huffington Post request for comment. So Jill Scott got somewhat dragged for expressing appreciation for Chris Brown's talent. A lot of people did not appreciate the fact that she was doing this because of his previous history with his allegations. So, what do you make of the social media treatment that Jill Scott went through as a result of just saying that she appreciates Chris Brown as a talented guy?
To me, I think it's multi-layered. I think there's a lot going on here, but on the surface, I would say that I would have saw that tweet and kept it moving if I followed her. I wouldn't have liked it. I just would have kept it moving. I wouldn't have saw anything wrong with it. Whenever I hear anything Chris Brown, I don't go down the abuse rabbit hole. I don't do that. I know that's part of his history. But I don't go to the abuse route. I really don't think about it like that. I know it's there, but there's some people. Now, this is the part where it gets a little caveaty, is that there are a lot of victims out there. Some victims who did report, some victims who didn't. A lot of victims who never got closure. And they're constantly carrying that backpack around. And what Chris Brown represents is a man who can abuse women and get away with it. So if there was a board in their house where they had, they were throwing darts at it, Chris Brown's picture is up there because he is a poster child, if you will, of domestic violence. And this is for the women who really feel the victim, like, because they are victims, but they really internalize that. And a lot of women crusade against abusive men just in general. So, yeah, so he just serves as a poster child. He'll never get this off his resume. It'll forever be following him around for the rest of his life. The part about it that I find a little like, whatever is, this is an entertainer talking about another entertainer's talent. So I didn't, I would agree. This guy can dance his ass off and backflip, dunk a basketball, rap, right? Slaughtering Quavo, making Quavo look like, I don't know what, boy. The rap game is in a state of duress right now. When Chris Brown, R&B dude, a singing dude, a dancing dude, just bodied him. But Chris Brown's from a different era, man. You know what I'm saying? These new people can't keep up, apparently. But anywho's, yeah, man. So I I'm not here to get on the victims who feel that way or the people who just associate or are allies of victims. This is a touchy subject. And whenever you get to, just throwing stuff out there and, trying to make it seem as though it's not important, because it's very important in their world. So, yeah, he just has that mark. He's been branded for life with that. And he's going to have to live with that. And anybody that comes out and vouches for him, for the most part, is going to feel the shock. So I'm not surprised about that, at least. So what are your thoughts on the internet going crazy on Jill Scott? Do you feel as though that is justified or what?
Question for you, real quick.
Mhm.
Do you think if Jill Scott had prefaced her comments by first saying, I do not condone any of Chris Brown's alleged past behavior and I don't excuse it. Like if she had said something like that, if she had put a disclaimer out there before she went into talking about his talent, do you think that the backlash would have been the same?
Not the same, but she still would have got some for saying that it's alleged. If if she said that, because they would be
okay,
like,
well then let's take the alleged part out. Let's just say
okay.
straight up,
Mhm.
if she were to be like, I don't condone his past as an abuser, basically leaving nothing to the imagination that she thinks that he did it. Do you think
Nah,
that the backlash would have been any different?
it would have been different, but it would have still been there. I'm just saying, just because it's like you can't just throw that under the rug. He still did
Yeah.
that. There's still
Mhm.
going to be those people, and
Yeah.
my point that I was trying to make is that those people are not coming off of that, and it's due to them living with that abuse daily.
Yeah.
It happened 5, 6, 10, 15 years ago, but they still live with it daily, and it's constant reminders. And his face is, like I said, is the poster child of that abuse. So any type of advocation for that is actually the advocation of the person that abused them. So they just don't jive with any of that. So she still would have caught some for the people that feel that way. So what are your thoughts, though, man? I don't know. Let me see what you say.
Yeah, no, I hear that. I do think that it wouldn't have mattered. I don't think it would have made a difference. And my point in asking you that question was to kind of show that in an instance like that, there's really nothing that people like Jill Scott can do to ward off that from happening, because it's going to happen. In the was that the second topic that we did, I talked about how social media has shrank the world. It's made the world smaller. And so it has put people in positions and situations in which they can more regularly reckon with and confront whatever traumas they're dealing with. And it can come from limitless places, and it can come from limitless places. It just doesn't matter. Like it's boundless in terms of the amount of avenues with which you can confront your various traumas, past trials and tribulations, and situations like that. For anybody who is someone who's experienced abuse or whatever, you can hit up any kind of chat, social media post, mention, whatever. It doesn't matter. If you chose to, you could come into direct contact with anything that incites that throughout the course of any given day, multiple times a day.
Mhm.
So it sort of, that to me sort of crystallizes why someone such as Jill Scott can make comments like that and deal with the backlash, even though in a vacuum, any reasonable person can understand that she's not excusing anything that he may or may not have done.
Right.
She's not saying that he's a good person. She's saying that he's a talented entertainer. But I think people spend so much time, and this isn't really an echo chamber thing. It's more so just people spend so much time consuming content for hours on end every single day. If you are someone out there who has been through stuff before, I would imagine that in a roundabout way, if you are on this thing and you spend enough time on TikTok, Instagram, whatever, any of these apps, It can even be dating apps. It doesn't matter what the app is. If you spend enough time consuming any of this content on a daily basis, you are going to regularly come into contact with something that can trigger something that you've been through. And it can be something that seems rather innocuous and unrelated, but for whatever reason, the vibrations and the patterns in your brain have you click back to what you were going through at that time when you experienced that. And so my point in bringing that up is people are just generally speaking on edge more now than they were in previous times. People are instantly more people are triggered more quickly now than they ever have been. You can make a simple statement or comment about basically anything, and it can just trigger something in the recesses of your mind that takes you back to that place. When you're constantly on edge and when you're always thinking about these things, or when you are so easily incited or triggered, someone such as Jill Scott, who said that's a talented person, can put you in the mind in the state of mind in which you're going to criticize those comments because it's just going to take you right back there.
Right.
And it doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it right or wrong. It just means that we are in this interconnected world via the internet, and we live on it so much 24 hours a day that our bandwidth for content that is going to set us off and trigger us, we have a very, very low bandwidth for it, meaning our tolerance for it is extremely low. And the slightest little thing, boom, there it goes. Now we're offended. Now we're mad. Now we're upset. Now we're defensive. Now we want to tell everybody how we feel. Now we need to get this off our chest and tell the world how we feel about it. And these celebrities have to toe that line because part of them being in the public eye, these musicians, these athletes, these various other peoples, they feel this weird sense of obligation to be a part of social media and to say stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But when you feel that weird sense of, I got to say something, I need to be a part of the world and say stuff, I got to tweet this, I got to post this, you're going to step in it. You're going to step in it.
Bro, we done stepped in it a few times.
Right. Yeah, like you're going to step in it and you're going to do something wrong. You're going to piss off a lot of people inadvertently. Yeah. You're going to piss off a lot of people. It just is what it is. Like, to me, she made the mistake when she decided that she was going to try and clarify or qualify what she said.
Agreed.
Just leave it alone.
Yep.
Let it go, because all you're going to do is just start the rabbit hole of a long message thread of more and more people getting involved and more people telling you where you went wrong with how you shouldn't have said what you said in the first place. She should have just left her. She should have just posted what she posted and let it stand.
Mm-hmm.
And if the heat on that is getting too much that you're uncomfortable, delete it. But to come back and try to qualify your statements, you're just going to continue to step in it because there's no way out of this thing. Like, there's a fork in the road and each direction is going to lead to a dead end. And there's no, if you try to U-turn, you just end up back at the fork. But there's no way out. So that's where she went wrong with this thing. But it's really more so a microcosm of the way that humans in general are just naturally on edge as a result of how interconnected we are via these various platforms. Mm-hmm. It's made people more on edge and more triggered across the board. It doesn't matter what the subject matter is. I can put out anything having to do with anything. It doesn't matter what I'm talking about. It can be a sports take. It can be a relationship take. It can be a politics take. It can be a social issues take. It doesn't matter what I put out there. If I have that big a platform, it's going to piss off a lot of people, no matter what. It's impossible to not piss people off.
That's true.
And I think very much like that orange man, the Republican nominee for president, I think very much like him, lightning rods like Chris Brown make it convenient for people to tap into their triggeredness.
Yeah.
Because he's such a lightning rod, because of his history. But be that as it may, people are so naturally on edge nowadays that it doesn't matter what you say, how innocent you think what you're saying is, it's going to rub someone somewhere the wrong way. And it's like, I kind of feel where she's coming from. All she did was say he's a talented dude. She wasn't excusing his behavior, but to a lot of people out there, to big up his talent is to excuse his behavior. It's the
Correct.
exact same thing.
Okay. Yes.
So best to just not step in it. If you want to, I'm not telling these people not to say nothing. I'm just saying don't continue to step in it. Just let what you say stand and keep it moving. Let the community, let the crowd, let the world out there comment on whatever it is that you put out there. But when you try to qualify your statements, you're just going to step in it even further. So I kind of feel bad for her. And I feel bad for her because Jill Scott ain't never did nothing to nobody. All she did was make her earthy music and star in those Tyler Perry movies. That's all she ever did. She ain't trying to hurt nobody. But even someone like such as her who ain't trying to hurt nobody isn't above the fray when it comes to inadvertently stepping into stuff and catching strays from the internet world, because that's just kind of the way things are. Everybody's just on edge and easily triggered.
Yeah, she gave like a Magic Johnson tweet. Yo, bro, I gotta send you this. I gotta send you this Magic Johnson tweet. It was literally like 2 days after we did that topic. It was like not W. It was college basketball. This girl had did some crazy move, and the paragraph that Magic wrote was just absolutely iconic.
He remember he ain't write it. He ain't write it. His PR team wrote it. They just posted it on his page, but he
it was
ain't write
great.
it.
I was rolling, bro. I hope I saved it. But yeah, man. So yeah, I don't know what made her unmute and say that. That was just, but like you said, it's kind of one of those things where they feel obligated to be engaged with the followers. Bro, this shit's so cringe. So she just felt like she had to say something, and much like how we tell Meek Mill, who else? Tyrese. They need to, when it's getting hot, I feel like all of these people should have somebody they should call. And hey, help me clean this up. Like a social media PR person. I feel like they should have that on staff already if they don't already. But there definitely needs to be somebody to call as soon as they start seeing a backlash. And then, they pick up and like, hey, what's going on? What happened? Well, I tweeted this and this is going on. And they're going to say, how long has it been up? About 17 minutes. Okay, just delete it. And then problem over. But she took it upon herself, as we said, and she tried to unpack that. What you bringing up the abusive stepfather for? You don't care how well he laid the stuff if he was terrorizing y'all's home.
Right.
Yeah, this point ain't making sense. So yeah, he can make the world happy, but if he's a monster behind closed doors, is this really a good man? So you're proving these people's point by saying this. It's a weird little thing. And then she's coming back and saying all these disjointed things that it's like, who's putting this together? As a poet, I would think she would be better with her words, but I felt like she was trying not to offend so much by saying what she was writing. She was saying nothing. And so, yeah, she should have consulted somebody. I really feel like, PR firms or consultant companies really need to pave that lane if they aren't, already doing that, because that sounds like a lucrative business to me. But, and consult me, it's at Dogon SS. All right, _ All right, just go ahead and hit me up. And I'll change your social media career. Now, as far as everything else is concerned, man, hey, man, you're on point, bro. There's a lot of stuff online all the time that gets people triggered, man. I be on, sometimes I got to log off of certain things. Yes. It's like, hey, man, y'all aggravate me right now. You know what I'm saying? I feel like the algorithm is purposely trying to piss me off. So I said, let me get up out of here, And so, but there's some people, man, who grew up without adequate coping strategies. Some people don't even know that they should shut it off, And so people that tend to get abused, like I mentioned and you mentioned, they tend to pretty much like live in that world, constantly being reminded of it. And that's what therapy's there to help for, to help deal with that trauma whenever it comes up. But there's so many people, like I said, reported and unreported, that walk around with this every day, and they walk around on edge, as you mentioned. So it's these people want their voice to be heard somehow, some way. And so, yeah, man, you really got to be mindful when you're saying certain things. But me, I probably would have fell in this trap too. I didn't know Chris Brown was so repulsive
Oh
still.
yeah. Oh
You
yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I didn't know that she couldn't even say that though. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I knew that APB was out, but this.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, man, it's wild business, man. But I guess it's another thing where it's like, I guess somebody else could have said it, but not you, Jill Scott. You know, the person that is supposed to be for women's rights, you know, standing up for us and being a soul sister. You know, why are you standing for one of our sisters getting struck down like this? So it might be also a Jill Scott angle where they feel like we expected more from you. So and again, that comes from, you know, the reputation of having a holier than thou persona. You know, she a woman who takes a number two just like anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So but you know, her brand is that she's this soul sister who's in touch with the right kind of being in touch. And that sounds like an out of touch kind of tweet from a woman who's supposed to be in tune with the sisterhood. And so I think that's the angle that, because I'm pretty sure anybody else, because I've seen people bigging up Chris Brown for his diss track. You know, everybody been, you know, some people can say it in this context, but not her, not an ambassador for the sisters, the Shea Butter community. So, you know, look out, guys. Black Twitter is not having this. Hey, I'm not saying anything positive about Chris Brown on Shea Butter Twitter. Not doing it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I feel like if it was I feel like if a rapper said that, I don't think anybody would have. I don't think it would have been as noisy. I think it's who she is and what she represents. So that's a good point. You're right about that. That is a good point. I hadn't thought about that. But you know, be that as it may, she might represent that. You know, she might be a representative for the sisterhood, but she is also a musical artist. And I know that she appreciates other musical artists who she perceives to have talent. Right. And all she was doing in that moment was saying, this is a very talented guy. But it's just, there's no, that's what I'm saying, man. Like, you could do this 15, 20 years ago. You can't do this anymore. Like, in this shrunken, interconnected world that we live in, your human history is attached to your art in ways that are inextricably bound, and you can't do anything about that. And that's just the way things are. And so for people like Chris Brown, Chris Brown can go on to win 20 Grammys in a year. And somebody says, man, that's crazy. He's so talented. He just won these 20 Grammys. You're going to get a lot of people who are going to say, that's not the time to talk about this because of what he did to Rihanna 15 years ago. And it just is what it is, because you can't separate art from artists. We are well past the days where art is separated from artists. Like, that no longer is a thing. It doesn't exist anymore. So I think she probably is someone who just didn't realize the severity of that. Or maybe she did, and she thought that she was smart enough to kind of qualify it to make it seem like she's on the right side of it. But there's no qualifying that. There's no amount of genius that you're going to be able to employ to get people to see it your way. It's just not going to work, you know. Just put your thing out there and just let it live. And if it's too hot, get rid of it. But the repeated qualifications just make you step in it even worse. So
yeah, agreed.
You know, it's unfortunate, you know, because I've always been someone who believed in separating art from artists. I can say this person is despicable, but then also say, man, they do great work. But to communicate that publicly, the world just doesn't work on that dime anymore. You are your art as a human, and that's just kind of the way we perceive these things now.
Yeah. Hey, like I said, Jill Scott, anybody else, it's at Dogon_SS. I charge $100 for the initial consultation. Then after that, we can talk numbers. Yeah, just DM me and I'll save your Twitter careers. Meek Mill, I'm not doing business.
I was waiting for that.
I ain't doing business with Meek. Anybody else, bro? Hit me up.
Get out of here, Meek.
We're not taking inboxes from Meek Mill.
$100 for the consultation and a like and subscribe on the channel.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Yeah.
Follow suit.
Oh.
Oh,
Oh,
boy.
speaking of new ways of doing relationships, Neo is here to let us know that polygamy and polyamorous relationships are not for everyone. And he wants to make it very clear that he would not recommend his lifestyle to everyone. This is just what works for him. And everyone should do what works for them. Don't copy what I do. I meaning Neo. Don't copy what I do. Do your thing. Just because it works for me does not work for you. So this is an interesting topic. This here says what works for me might not work for you. Neo addresses being in a polyamorous relationship. American musician Neo shared his thoughts on polygamous marriages and opined that people should be free to love whoever they choose to. During an interview with TMZ on April 18th, the 44-year-old was asked whether he would recommend polyamorous dating to other people. No, I don't recommend anything to anybody. What works for me might not work for you, and vice versa. So find out what works for you, Neo responded. For the uninitiated, polygamy is a consensual, non-monogamous relationship where people can get married to multiple partners at the same time. In such relationships, having more than one spouse is considered ethical, whereas polyamory refers to the practice of dating multiple partners. R&B singer Neo was recently spotted strolling through the streets of Los Angeles while holding hands with two unidentified women at the same time on Thursday, April 19th. You should let people do whatever the hell they want to do, Neo opines on polygamous relationships. When TMZ asked Neo whether polygamous marriages should be legalized, musician Neo responded, "Sure, why not? I feel like in the realm of love and romance, you should let people do whatever the hell they want to do. Can't see how it's hurting anybody," Neo mentioned. The Soul Sick singer also stated that he does not require the government's permission to do what he wants to do in his personal life. As the interview continued, Neo was asked whether he would be interested in marrying multiple women at once, to which he responded by saying, "I don't know, depends on the situation. I'm not going to let it ruin my day. At the end of the day, the people I love know I love them and they love me." The Grammy Award winner also explained that this was the first time he was in a relationship where he was seeing more than one woman at a time. He further said that this would likely be reflected in his music in the coming future. "I don't force it when it comes to music. It happens naturally," Neo responded. So that goes on to talk about his past relationship history. But there's Neo talking about his current relationship setup. He's in a polyamorous deal. He is seeing two women. I actually knew about this before because he be down here in Miami a lot. And whenever he's down here, he be spotted with his two girlfriends because he's always with them. And they'll be holding hands together and people be taking pics and posting it and all of that kind of stuff. So he's unapologetic about this. And he's saying, "Hey, man, it should be whatever. Do what you do because it is what it is." But he also offers up that you shouldn't do it just because I do it and vice versa. Everyone should do what works for them. So what do you make about Neo's approach to his modern relationships? You understand it? You think it works, not works? What do you feel about this?
I definitely think it works for him. He seems to be happy with the results that he's getting from this. He did, have a bit of a tumultuous past when it came to partnership. So this might be his alternative. And I think it's the right one for him, especially for a person who lives the lifestyle that he lives, has the name recognition and all that other stuff, the status to go with it. So we talk on here a lot about how people who live in that realm find it difficult to just be with one person. So why not have a couple that are okay with it? I don't see any problem with that. I also don't see any problem with the everyday person doing this either. Now, I don't think everybody should do it. I agree with him in the sense that it's a teach their own kind of thing. But I'm telling you guys right now, for the people that's so against polyamorous relationships, Let's be honest, and you be honest. For a lot of us, we've lived polyamorous relationships unknowingly. My thing is, with this fast ass climate, if you got a fast person that you're dealing with, then you guys might want to be open about that. But that requires a large level of maturity that I'm thinking that the majority of people who are cheaters will never do. I think cheaters get off on cheating, to be honest. I think it's like a sick thing that, they get off on that. And I think polyamory kind of blows the lid off of it. It's not as spicy anymore. It's just whatever. So, but I think there's a lot of people lying out here right now in relationships, fronting, okay, either carrying on conversations that they shouldn't be carrying on, actually having physical interactions they shouldn't be doing, or whatever else. And I'm over that. And I feel like if that's what you're doing, let's just go ahead and be honest about it. Let's just go ahead and be open about it so everybody can proceed forward. But if you're just going to lie, no, I just want, it's just exclusive. And, that's BS. In today's climate, is bogus. I'm finding it very hard to believe, man. I'm trying to keep my hopes up. But at the same time, bro, I got to be realistic, bro. I gamble a lot. You know what I'm saying? I play DraftKings a lot. And one thing that I learned from gambling, you can't be gambling with your emotions, your heart. At some point, you're going to have to make a decision to make the right decision and stop playing around. And so when you're around here playing with these relationships and playing with these people and you going, oh, I'll trust this one, you're gambling, bro. It's the same thing. Hold out. Watch this behavior. If you can trust that behavior over time, okay, then you can trust this person. But as soon as they start giving you some inklings, as soon as they start giving you anything, hey man, I'm telling you right now, you know what I'm saying? There's more to that. Where there's smoke, there's fire. So whether you're living a polyamorous relationship knowingly or unknowingly, I think it's the wave right now. And I think he's ahead of the curve by just acknowledging it and saying, I'm just doing this and I'm not going to fake the funk anymore. I want more than one vagina. Sorry. And these two women are cool with it. I'm going to be with them. What's the problem here? I love it. So what are your thoughts, sir? Do you agree with Sir Neil? Do you think polyamory is the wave? Or do you think that, I don't know, man, this is a little too new agey for the population?
Yeah, I think 10 years from now, this is going to be the main way that people conduct relationships, I think.
Yeah.
People will say that, they'll opt into a polyamorous relationship because they want to have the freedom to be able to exercise multiple options. And that's all well and good. But I personally have always believed that it provides people with the setup to be able to benefit from the construct of being able to say that you're a part of a relationship while also being able to exercise your right to just have sex with different people.
Yes.
Like it's not, I don't like the whole relationship thing, connection thing. I don't really buy it. I think that it is an exercise in being able to have multiple sexual partners. That's kind of what I think it boils down to. And the thing with me is if everyone's honest about it, then fine. So, with him being upfront and honest about it with his two girlfriends and they're aware and they know about it and they understand the terms of service and they get it and everybody's on the same page, who am I to judge?
Yeah.
Like who am I to judge? But I think most people in the world who try to practice this kind of thing are largely dishonest, and they aren't doing it because they need a piece of their personality or soul fulfilled by an individual who's not their primary partner. I don't think it has anything to do with that. And maybe I'm being cynical. I don't think it has anything to do with that. And I think it has everything to do with people just wanting to be able to have multiple sexual partners.
Yeah.
That's what I think. I think people just want to be able to have sex with as many people as they want. But
Yeah.
obviously it's morally abhorrent to live like that, like proudly. So how do you reconcile the moral corruption that comes along with living such a way? Oh, I'm in a polyamorous relationship. Therefore, you can say I'm in a relationship. Therefore, as a person who's a part of a relationship, I am freed from the moral constraints that would otherwise prohibit me from living this way. It's okay for me to do it because, hey, everyone knows about it and I'm in a relationship. So no harm, no foul. But really, it's not about you having people in your life that fulfills certain needs that you have emotionally, mentally, spiritually. You just want to be able to get a variety of vagina and a variety of penis. That's what this boils down to.
Yeah.
That's what this to me is a sexual ploy more than anything else. And that's why there's a part of it to me that makes me roll my eyes at it, because the excuse that is largely given to me for why people opt into it tends to not be sexual, when the truth is all of it is sexual in terms of your motivation for doing it.
Yeah.
So I just think it's complete and utter BS in a lot of ways, but people use it as a way to reconcile their desire to just be able to get their rocks off. And the thing about it is, in 2024, it's becoming more and more socially acceptable for everybody to date in a masculine way anyway. All of the, like everyone's saying, hey, women, do what you do, have as many, penises as possible. It's all good. Like, you can do the same thing a man can do. Who cares? So we're socially deconstructing this thing to remove the stigma away from it as it is. So
Mhm.
why opt into a polyamorous relationship just to be able to use the word relationship attached to your own personal life? Just do what you do and live free of the, constraints that even come along with invoking the use of the word relationship in the first place. Because all this is about to me is intercourse. That's all this is about. It ain't about a connection. It ain't about none of that stuff. Call me whatever you want to call me. That might seem controversial to some. Yeah, there might be some of y'all out there who are in a polyamorous relationship and y'all are doing it for the emotional connection. Y'all are in the minority. The majority of the people in the world who sign up for this are signing up for the opportunity to be able to have multiple sexual partners without having to deal with the moral conundrums that come attached with it. That's what this is about. So for somebody like him, the most that I can say is good job, because if you know about it and they know about it and y'all are all together and y'all all on the same page and y'all are with it and whatever, then cool. But in terms of the practical way that this is typically employed, and I know this from personal experience, this is just people out there saying I'm in a polyamorous relationship, but they just run around hopping dick.
Yo, yeah.
And and the dudes are running around sliding in whatever vag they want to slide in. But hey, man, it's all good because I'm in a polyamorous relationship. Like, I don't know, I kind of feel like it's bogus. I call BS on a lot of it. But very much like the soccer star that we just got finished talking about, for his lifestyle in particular and for his setup, he can do that because he is in a position of leverage to which he can set the terms and set the demands, and he can dictate what his girlfriends can and cannot do. Regular guy in regular world, good luck trying that with these women out here. They don't have to listen to you and agree to your terms. Just because you decide you want to incorporate a polyamorous relationship into your own personal life, and you're doing that with the girl who works at Macy's and another girl who is a bartender at a club, or another girl who serves drinks at the strip club, or another girl who works at a car dealership, who works at a gym, who's an influencer, who has an OnlyFans, who has an OnlyFans. Yeah, good luck getting them to agree to your terms with your meager position of leverage. So I think that the practical way that this is typically employed in the real world, to me, is stupid, is disingenuous, it's largely dishonest. Very much like those very same people who live life dishonest, who know very well that they don't want to be in anything committed because they want to run around cheating. This is just another way to excuse their otherwise dishonesty. To me, I've seen a few instances in which it is about genuine connection, but for the most part, this is just about people hopping dick and vag. So from that standpoint, I roll my eyes, I laugh at it. When people come to me hollering that noise about polyamorous relationships, ma'am or sir, when you come to me talking that noise about how that's how you choose to live, you're giving me all you need to give me in terms of what I need to know about how you live. And one more thing, this is the last thing I'll say because I don't even want to touch on this no more. You can convince me all day, every day that polyamory, and because some of these setups, these people try to keep it organized, like pacts and contracts and addendums and paperwork. You can and can't do this. You can and cannot say this. Listen, if you're Neo, or Nick Cannon, fine, maybe it works. If you're dude who works at Dodge or Tires Plus, it ain't gonna go the way you think it's gonna go because you don't have that position of leverage. You don't. And if you're gonna convince me that it is all good with being out here dealing with this kind of setup, and you're just gonna be out here willy-nilly exposing yourself to diseases and things of that nature, then go ahead. More power to you. Good luck. If I'm going to do this, I'll wait until I'm in an ultimate position of leverage, very much like Neo. Otherwise, I am going to, by hook or by crook, and you can call me crazy if you want, I'm going to keep doing it the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, man. I mean, I don't blame you, bro. There's still going to be people who do it the old-fashioned way, bro. These are just alternative lifestyles that are gaining steam, but they'll always be the traditionals. So, and they'll have their community, if you will. So, that will be available for people that are seeking that. But I'm telling you right now, the overwhelming majority of people are already, like I said, living it, whether they want to admit it or not. So my thing is for those people that are just doing that and living on the sly and doing people wrong, just be honest. Hey, I want to talk to somebody else. I don't want to not be with you, but you know what I'm saying, I want something different.
Yeah.
And just be honest about it and just do that, because what that will do is it will not break up as many homes. It won't break up households because there's an understanding that, okay, bro, hey man, bro want a burger now. He's tired of my chicken salad. Yeah, and it's okay. And the same thing, it could just go like that. Now, it requires a lot of maturity. That's what I'm saying, man. This is not something for the faint of heart. Like, you have to really be okay with this. Now, you can't be playing the game and faking the funk and getting mad at your partner getting slayed more than you getting some. And it's like, hey, man, you out there giving it out to everybody. Yeah. So, that's gonna happen. It's gonna have its moments, bro. Trust. But I still think that is better off of people just being a little bit more upfront, because I think that will save a percentage of homes that need to be saved. So that's why I always advocate, because I already feel like they're down that road doing it anyway. And to tell those people to go traditional and to just be with one person, bro. Have you ever been in a situation with a chick that can't do that and you asked her to do that? Her skin literally crawls. I mean, they be busting out of their clothes like the Hulk. They can't wait to hit the streets. And it's like, hey, look, calm down. You know what I'm saying? So this, and the good people, they got ADD.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they get bored real quick. That's what's going on. So, and that's why I think a lot of people aren't married. And that's why I think a lot of people be cutting people off. People aren't giving people chances because of these things aren't even allowing people to grow together. So if there is something that would save households, I think that this would be a remedy of it. And man, to the government, if y'all can pass gay marriage, then pass polygamy. You know what I'm saying? Let it go down. I don't see anything wrong with it, man. You know what I'm saying? So long as it's above board and there's a way that things make sense, and nobody can get married in two different places. Well, have a notary, or all parties got to be there, so nobody get married behind nobody back. There'll be things to fix it and clean it up, but I think that this really needs to change if we want to see the dynamics of families and homes get better. Now, what kind of conjuring up that's going to bring up in these households when they see people polygamy, polyamorous families. I don't know what that's going to do to people. But I don't know if that's going to be better than what we're seeing now, but I don't know. But all I know is there's a lot of cheaters out there. You know what I'm saying? And if there's 100 relationships right now, I would holler about 75 or plus. There's some crazy stuff going down. So those 70 something plus people in my world, I would tell them to just go ahead and be polyamorous. So, hey man, it's a touchy subject, man. Ladies ain't gonna like that. But I'm gonna tell you this. Hey man, open up your mind. You might like it. I don't plan on doing it. I want the traditional stuff. But hey man, I'm open to suggestions. Cause I'm telling you right now, bro. They in the streets, bro. They already doing it.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Really
Yeah, I know. I mean, one thing that we can agree on is the importance of just being honest about it. That I agree with 1000%. I think that if you are a man or a woman, you should just let anybody who you might be dating know that you're dating other people. Me personally, I've been told that. I didn't take it I didn't become defensive because I kind of come to expect it, especially the more attractive they are. I kind of already assume that you have men on rotation. Like I already know these things.
Right.
So like the open dialogue and communication about it is something that I can respect. But there are certain things that are tailored to my preferences that don't lend themselves to being able to stay safe doing things this way, and that's my whole thing. I'm not with diseases and all of that kind of stuff. And you're not going to convince me that it's cool to do that. I don't care. I don't care. But if it's a setup like that, like what Neo, because I would imagine Neo knows that his women ain't sleeping with nobody but him.
Yeah,
but my overall point is, I really only have faith in one's ability to pull that off successfully if you are in a decent enough position of leverage. And I think for most men in the world, most men from a profile standpoint don't retain enough leverage to be able to successfully manage that, at least not long term. I just don't see it, because I feel like women are always going to have more options and they're going to exercise those options. And if that means leaving you or violating your terms because they have the options to do so, you're not going to be able to stop them from doing that.
No.
And the thing about these kind of setups is, you brought up the word maturity, and you're extremely right about that. You really have to be strong-willed.
Yeah.
Okay, especially if you're a man, you have to be strong-willed, because trust me, she has more options than you. She does. She does. Unless she's below average looking, she has more options than you. If she got that thing between her legs, so if y'all are doing this thing and everyone's committed to it and y'all on the same page, you can do your thing and she can do her thing, and y'all have an understanding and all of that kind of stuff, she's going to be getting her opportunities at a far greater rate than you. Okay. That's just the way this thing shakes out. Okay. So you have to be okay with that. You have to be willing to, you have to know that on them nights when you at home playing video games or watching the game, because you ain't hitting, your line ain't hitting as much, her line is always hitting.
Yo, somebody tearing that ass up right now.
That's what I'm saying. Her line is look. Her hotline bling is always on swole.
Yeah,
always. Yeah. So that's what I'm like. These. I think that these kinds of things, unless you are a high profile guy, I can't stress this enough. Unless you are a high profile guy who is in a tremendous, decent enough position of leverage, you are otherwise going to enter into these situations with women, and you are going to have to deal with the fact that she is going to have way more bites of this apple than you, because women always have more options. Always. If you can handle that, if you can live with that, do what you got to do, bro. Do what you got to do. But I think it's a lot of dudes out here trying to pull this off, and they going crazy because these women running their mind crazy. Because even though they know that they can do whatever they want, she can do whatever she wants, and if she can do whatever she wants, she's gonna have way more chances to do whatever she wants than you.
Hey man, but that's what I'm saying. That it has the maturity. So there's levels and chambers in the brain that has to be rewired from traditional, and in order to make that happen, it's not like I'm already doing it. It's that I've already wired my brain for cheaters. So it's not that far, you know what I'm saying? But it's different. It's definitely a different world. But you know what I'm saying? I've trained myself to deal with like cheaters and infidelic behaviors. You know what I'm saying? Because if not, you're gonna get tortured. So there's a way that you have to just like neutralize it. And the way that I did that is not in some P. Diddy sick kind of way where I'm envisioning her getting smashed, but you kind of have to envision her getting smashed. Oh, hold on. And so, because take that right there, feel that pain and be like, man, well, nah, hell, I don't want to think about that. Nah, man, she loved it too. Like, do the whole thing. And then, and then once you get over that, then you go, so, it's like a so kind of thing. And then, so again, I'm not condoning cheating. I'm just saying, when you find that number in the phone, when that dude texted or whatever, or you heard a phone call, or you came across something and you found out something, like it kills all of that. You know what I'm saying? It just neutralizes it. So I'm speaking from that logic of like not giving a damn about what another person does with their body parts. Because honestly, from history, they're gonna do it anyway.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. So that's why so I'm not speaking from, I'm already out here polyamorous. No, I'm just like people doing this stuff anyway. And I already go through the mental stuff of going, hey, brace yourself for disappointment. I'm not summoning it. Oh, you're just a trick. No. All right. What happened in your house? So hey man, it is what it is, man. I think this does need to be a larger conversation where people just really need to be honest. I'm tired of the lies, bro. The delusion, the cap, everybody out here with the princess story, all these dudes out here with oh yeah, I got this popping story. Stop the lies and let's be honest with ourselves. And I think that we'll be better off as a community. So yeah, man.
Yeah, I hear that. Listen. I don't mentally prepare myself for cheaters, but what I do mentally prepare myself for is the reality that I'm not the only dude she talking to. Like, well, I know this. Like I know that. I know that for a fact. So like, I don't know, in the last, 5, 6, maybe even longer years, every woman I've met, I have operated under the assumption that I am one of many. And I take that with me, and it really does help me every day, and it kind of guides me on how to better manage my emotions whenever I am not getting the type of behavior or reciprocation that I'm looking for. It helps me to not mentally go crazy with anguish whenever I'm confronted with that. But I already know. But and that's the thing. Like, the reality of it is, they have more options than us. You got, and it's all, unless you're in a supreme position of leverage, there's nothing that you can do to change that. So if you feel as though the best way for you to be able to deal with that is to sort of get into something like this, a polyamory type setup, then fine. But just understand, have the maturity, know what you're getting yourself into, because she's going to be doing this at an elevated level compared.
Oh, she's going to be doing her thing, bro.
Yes, she is. But she's going to be doing it at an elevated level compared to you. And hopefully she is not doing it in such a way that is so egregious that it's going to get you burned. Because that's what I'll be thinking about. I ain't with that.
And this is my last thing. So there has to be some decorum here. All right, they're still like vetting people out. Like, I'm not talking about dealing with like OF girls or girls who aspire to be like that. You know
anything can happen, man.
Listen, I know anything can happen, but I'm just saying, there still has to be some level of at least in the way that I would imagine it go, some level of decorum. That people aren't here just doing any goddamn thing,
Right.
you know. But
Right.
I still think that you know, maturity is a big factor in our community as a whole, and I really think that we just need to grow up and be honest. As a lot of lies, and you're right, man. You're absolutely right with the, you know, just bracing yourself. So no, it's not a situation of getting weird. It's just or attracting it or none of that. It's just like, hey, man, how can I mentally process
Right.
this?
Yeah.
You know, and processing it the right way. So I think that kind of thought process is what happens. But while she's out here doing her thing because she has more options, you should be out here accomplishing goals.
Yeah.
What are you trying to do? Lay up under her? About time you out here accomplishing so many goals, your level of options will damn near equate. So get on your mission and stop trying to cake up. I'm not saying this to you. I'm just saying that to the idea of it. It's like men need to change. We're doing too much caking up and too much 2K. We got to go out there and get it. And so, and part of being out there getting it and having motion, the women are gonna want to share you. So, hey man, you know, it is what it is. I'm probably talking too much. Let me cut this off. Oh, let me cut this off. But hey, man, do your thing out here, y'all. Man, live your lives. Be responsible, though. You be responsible.
Yeah. Please be responsible.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, vetting for sure, but man, it's crazy. It's just you say everybody out here doing it anyway, so you can vet and vet and vet. But if everybody out here doing it, that means everybody out here doing it.
Man,
So,
hey, you know, be mindful, guys. You know, there's still some good people in the world, both male and female. I'll throw that out there. But if you know the person you dealing with ratchet, you know what I'm saying? Look out, y'all. Look out.
That's fine. That's fine. Now we're gonna get into Get Off My Lawn, Tom Brady. Get Off My Lawn, Tom Brady. I'm a fan of Get Off My Lawn, Tom Brady.
Yeah, man.
I've gone on record saying that I over time gradually came to appreciate Tom Brady. I stopped hating him so much. But post-retirement, Tom Brady has been refreshing.
Oh, yeah.
And Tom Brady thinks that young athletes today have a real big problem with their selfishness. He thinks it's too much me, too much selfishness, and he thinks that's like a big problem with today's young athletes. So this article from Outkick says Tom Brady torches young athletes for being selfish. Tom Brady doesn't sound like the biggest fan of the current generation of athletes coming through the pipeline. Brady ended his NFL career with 7 Super Bowl rings and is widely considered the greatest player in league history. He was also known during his playing days as being an incredible leader. Former Pats and Bucks QB demanded the most out of his teammates. Buy-in was mandatory if you wanted to roll with Brady. The team had to come first. He's not sure that's a mentality that exists much with young people these days. So you know what? The rest of it is just pretty much what he said. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kill this screen and I'm going to open up a different tab so that we can catch. It's a very brief video, very, very brief. It's not that long, but here's what Tom Brady had to say about today's athlete and what he perceives to be a big problem with them because of their selfishness.
And I think the biggest problem with a lot of fucking kids these days, it's all about them. It's all about them, their brand, their social media. And then when it's about me and then not about us, well, there's no way to succeed as a team if all you're doing is thinking about how selfish it is for you to get the attention. And I think
so there you go. Tom Brady's what, 45, 46, whatever he is. Yeah. So that was a get off my lawn take from Tom Brady, I would say. Talking about the selfishness and the brand and all of this kind of stuff. The article goes on to say that's about as blunt as it gets in terms of sharing your feelings on selfish athletes. You can watch his comments below. Look no further than NIL and the transfer portal in college sports. Guys will cut and run if they don't feel like they're playing enough or getting enough money. Gone are the days of slowly developing over time and being patient. So that was more of an op-ed with the author of that piece, sort of giving his opinion on what Brady had to say. But Brady is not really here for, the selfishness of today's athlete. Do you concur with those sentiments?
1000%, man. He's speaking my language. Just earlier in the topic, we were talking about, I think we were talking about the little Brazilian guy, but I was just saying that, building towards something like having a common goal, building like a team, that having something like that is what makes sports, and that's what makes champions. Individualistic behavior, it what it does is it creates competition amongst your team, and it waters things down. Then it's a divide and conquer kind of situation. So overall, I think that this also speaks to a societal thing that's happening. So yes, athletes are
Absolutely.
doing athletes are doing it, but this is more of a societal thing that these kids are just young people who happen to play sports. So they're bringing that behavior into the sports realm, but this stuff is going on everywhere. And I think it was either last week or a couple weeks ago I had mentioned that just here in the West, individualism is king. There is no communal ways of doing things. Man, remember growing up, bro, and we was learning stuff like nuclear family and all this other stuff. Like that stuff's gone. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody living with grandma and grandpa no more. There's people all over the country, all over the world. People really don't know their aunts and uncles like they used to. People don't know their grandparents like they used to. And with this lack of community, there's naturally going to be an individualistic mindset. And if you're going down this windy, dark road with a whole bunch of wolves, coyotes, and nowhere, no light in sight, and you walking down that road by yourself, I would argue that your survival rate is a lot lower than if you came with, a team of people. And life is a journey of a windy road, and you're going to need assistance going down that road. You're not going to make it by yourself. If you do, you're going to be the most callous person out here. And who wants that? So community is a whole bunch of things. It's protection, it's wisdom, it's culture, and it keeps people fighting for something that actually means something, people with substance. But individualism breeds vanity, greed, envy, and all the kinds of things that's making the world mad at this point. So yeah, Tom Brady has an absolute point. Tom Brady, post-retirement Brady, out here crushing it like post-retirement Kobe. What he got going on, man? But I want to see Tom Brady's detail. I want to see him detail some football, man. I feel like that'd be pretty fire. So what are your thoughts, man? Do you agree with Tom Brady? Do you feel like today's generation is a little bit too fixed on themselves and not enough for the team?
Yeah, I agree with what you said. I pretty much don't have too much to add. He was talking about it within a sports context, but really it's a societal observation.
Mm-hmm.
Narcissism has become an acceptable form of behavior,
It has.
is what we have seen. Literally, that's what we have. That's what we have going on. It doesn't appeal to my sensibilities because I come from a previous time, and I really do think that you can chart this based upon how much of your life you lived before there was like widespread internet use and social media activity. Like that's kind of the general, time frame that we are looking at here. A couple weeks ago, we talked about Doja Cat getting mad at people who are criticizing her hairstyle,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the basically the bottom line for me was you utilize this platform at your disposal for your own personal benefit all the time. But when people criticize you via the same means that you're able to benefit from on the same platform, you get upset at the world because you feel like people are treating you poorly. you're being treated unfairly. And you have it both ways. You put the energy out into the world, which causes you to get that feedback. Now, part of the benefit of that energy that you put out into the world is it helps your music career, it helps your music, it helps your notoriety, and it helps your exposure, which at the end of the day does help you individually. The drawback that comes along with that is people are going to have stuff to say about you. And it is incumbent upon you to understand that that is not a reflection of the world. That is a reflection of the energy you specifically put into the world. But an individual who has grown up having their narcissism rewarded can never understand that, because all they know is feed me my attention and I don't have to sacrifice anything. So the thing that Tom Brady is talking about is the very same dynamic. These guys who are basically making decisions on playing in college based upon NIL money and social media cachet, they only know a world in which their narcissistic tendencies have been rewarded.
It's crazy.
Rewarded because they get followers and likes and comments and endorsement deals. So literally you're being rewarded for your narcissism. Literally. Like, there's no other way to slice it. That's what's going on. Like, that is what has begat NIL. Literally, is people being rewarded. See, back when Instagram first came out and we first started to see the tea leaves for this stuff, they called it influencers. Oh, do your thing on social media, post, stuff that's going to get people engaging. For women, it was basically just be naked, right? So be naked. If you're a woman, be naked on social media, leverage your body, show off how sexy you are so that you can get all of these followers, and then you'll get paid for that activity. You are literally being paid for your narcissism. So we are now 2 or 3 generations removed from the initial inception of this. So of course it's going to matriculate down into other avenues: business, sports, the household, life, family. We're going to see it everywhere. It's like a virus that has no cure. Well, of course, viruses don't have cures. So yeah, it's like a virus. And there's no stopping it. It's just learning how to best live with it. But this is no different. This is Lizzo territory, Meek Mill territory, Tyrese territory, Doja Cat territory. This is, I have no sense of accountability in the world because all of my adult life, I have been rewarded for my narcissistic behavior. These kids stepping onto the football field or walking onto the basketball court, they've been rewarded for their narcissism their entire lives. So really, you can't blame them. I don't know whose fault it is, the world, internet, the social media companies. I don't know who you chart for this, but we are living in a day and age in which narcissism is rewarded. And we're seeing it observed at a grassroots level. I've told you before, I go to a very basic mainstream gym. I would call it that. I don't go to like what's the name of it? Like those. No, gold is mainstream too. But I'm trying to think of the name of this place. There's a gym that's real high level that famous people, celebrities, people who are rich go to this gym. It's like hundreds of dollars per month in membership fees. It's absurd. I don't even go to a gym like that. I go to a basic mainstream gen pop gym. And even in my basic gen pop gym, I see these people coming into the gym all the time looking to record themselves during their workout. Now, they're content creators, so they have a right to be able to do this in this public space that's supposed to be shared by everybody. But if you disrupt their activity, you're in the wrong, even though we all are entitled to this public space. I pay my money too. But you can't explain this to these people because all they know is being rewarded for their narcissism.
Oh, yeah.
So this is the world. So this is the world that we are living in. And all I can say to people like Tom Brady and to Tom Brady himself is I hope you are raising your children to retain some kind of balance in their life. That's the only way that you can do. That's the only thing that you can do to combat this. If you have children of your own, raise your children to retain some semblance of balance. Raise your children to understand the importance of accountability and to understand that narcissism is not a redeeming quality. that you should have respect and consideration for others in the world, and that it does not make you a better, more superior person to run roughshod on other humans just because of your narcissistic ways. All you can do is teach your own children these all you can do is teach your own children these qualities, these traits. You can't do anything about the rest of the world because the rest of the world is going to go to shit with everything else. But all Brady can do is teach his kids to have balance, to be on their square, to not be a narcissist. But otherwise, yeah, this is bigger than sports. Yeah, you could talk about NIL and not caring about team and all of that kind of stuff, but this to me is a microcosm of what's happening in the world, where at
Correct.
large no one gives a shit about community.
Correct.
And furthermore, no one gives a shit about respecting others, especially in public spaces.
Yep.
No one cares because it's me, I. Reward me for my narcissistic behavior. Feed me, feed me, feed me, feed me. Give me my attention, and to hell with everything else.
Yeah, bro. I saw these kids grow up having access to this foolishness. And I'm sitting here complaining at the time, like, this is toxic. This is toxic. This is toxic. Hey man, no, let's not consume that. Hey, y'all, basically what we're doing here. You know what I'm saying? But I was doing this when they were growing up. They're here now. And people are going, oh, what are these kids? They're acting like divas. They're acting like this. They're acting like that. Where do you think that's coming from? I don't blame these kids at all. They're following their goats.
Yeah.
And their goats was out here doing that goofy stuff. And, a whole gang of people, are easy to tear apart when they're separated. So, and they're easy to be controlled, which ties into consumerism quite a bit. Be your own unique individual and buy your own different clothes of this and that, and all of that stuff is part of marketing. And a community mindset is too strong. It has values of its own that may differ from the mainstream. And so I think what also did away with home and community and stuff like that, the rise of apartment complexes and people jumping from place to place year after year, we've gotten a situation where we've just got a whole bunch of people that are divided. And with that division becomes this solitary confinement thing where they're just living in their own world, but not with everybody else. Even though they're on social media connecting with everybody, they still live in that same bubble. Yep. And this is the remnants of that. And these young men are literally, I look at them like they're literally the fruits of it. Like, I'm not mad at these kids for actually doing, I'm mad at the people from previous generations, the people that still enable this, that should know better. But Tom Brady taking a stand, because there's a lot of young men who still look up to him in the football world, who do look up to him in the football world. And for him to be saying these things, to be a guardian of the old guard, I enjoy that, man. We need more people from the old guard to speak up against this stuff. So, the youngsters could follow suit the right way. Because one thing that I was upset when I was in like 21, 22, like really finding my footing as a person and knowing the world and knowing history, I was throwing stones at my dad's generation. Like, man, what y'all was doing? Y'all didn't see this coming a mile away. They did. It was just not enough people on the fight.
Yeah.
And so now we're in that boat, bro, where it's like, hey, y'all gonna let these young kids throw stones at us and say, bro, y'all let them people come in our bathroom, bro? It's like, no, I wasn't cool with it. Well, what did y'all do about it? So there has to be something that's done about something. So shout out to Tom, man. Post-retirement Tom, man, making a comeback, gaining points out here. But he definitely has some strong values, and you could see why he won so much. He wasn't playing about having standards and values.
Yep. Yeah. And he's also unafraid to say these things without worrying about people calling him old, because that's what they're going to do. Like anytime people get on their soapbox and speak like this, basically all that you get, the response is you're old, you're out of touch, or You need to get with it. It is, you know what I'm saying? It's basically just ageism talk. Like it's all, it's like it's age shaming almost.
Oh yeah.
And Brady appears to not care about being called old for saying stuff like this. Like, you know, as I've gotten older, I have learned that just because it's older doesn't mean it's worse.
Thank you.
And
Thank
just
you.
because it's new doesn't mean it's better.
Thank you.
And so, but I feel him. I feel him. And more people do need to get off my lawn, because we're at a critical juncture when it comes to the soul of humans in the world, much less in the West. And it's going to take people who are unafraid to dig their, you know, to not want to be smoked out of their hole, on account of people saying that they shouldn't think the way that they think because of their age or lack thereof. You can go to hell with all of that. Just because it's new and young doesn't mean it's better. And just because it's old and comes from a previous time doesn't mean it's worse.
Last thing, and that's facts, but that's an individualistic way of looking at the world. But a more communal mindset incorporates elders. They don't banish them.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, man, we got to have our elders, bro. We elders, bro. Get off my lawn, young man.
Yeah.
Hey, bro, get off my lawn. Hey, bro, we doing it good though. You know what I'm saying? We balling with it.
Yeah. Shouts out to Tom Brady. Shouts out to Tom Brady. And look, man, you know, my age is my age, but I can assure you that I am physically much younger than a lot of guys 15 years younger than me. So for whatever it's worth, get out of here with all of that age shaming stuff. Shouts out to Tom Brady, man.
Y'all can't see it, but my grades is coming in, bro. I'm gonna be out here balling, bro. Die what? I'm gonna be out here crispy as hell. Just watch. Just watch.
Yeah. Last up, we're gonna talk about hot girl summer herself, Megan Thee Stallion.
Damn.
You know, queen of the hotties, or what does she call her people? The something, I don't know. All of these chicks got names for their zombie fans. I think hers are the hotties or the something. I don't know. I'm not gonna look it up because I don't care.
I'll look it up because I'm curious now.
But Megan Thee Stallion is apparently being sued by a former cameraman who is alleging harassment and weight shaming of all things. So this here says Megan Thee Stallion sued by former cameraman accused of harassment and weight shaming. Megan Thee Stallion is facing a lawsuit from a former cameraman who has accused the rapper of subjecting him to sexual harassment and fat shaming comments. Emilio Garcia, who worked as a personal cameraman for Megan Thee Stallion from 2018 to 2023, sued the hot girl summer rapper in Los Angeles, accusing her of harassment and creating a hostile work environment, according to a copy of the complaint obtained by USA Today on Tuesday. NBC News first reported the suit. In one incident, Garcia alleged that Megan Thee Stallion, whose real name is Megan Pete, had sex with a woman beside him while they were in an SUV together after a night out in June 2022. He was embarrassed, mortified, and offended throughout the whole ordeal.
Mortified.
And the next day, the rapper allegedly told him to never discuss what you saw, the lawsuit claims. Additionally, the suit accuses Megan Thee Stallion of making fat-shaming comments toward Garcia, including telling him to spit your food out and that you don't need to be eating. The barrage of relentless sexual and fat-shaming comments plunged Garcia into profound emotional distress. Yes. The lawsuit states. I don't mean to laugh at that. It's just funny. Sorry, guys. Let's see. Okay, so that's pretty much the end of that. USA Today has reached out to representatives for Megan Thee Stallion for comment. So this guy, Emilio Garcia, plunged into profound and emotional distress at the hands of hot girl summer herself, Megan Thee Stallion. So a bit of a Lizzo. She's doing her best Lizzo impression here. What do you think about this? What do you think about this? What do you think about this lawsuit?
It's kind of crazy. I think that this is the new play, bro. This the new wave, bro. Like underpaid ex-employees just outing you. So like having your own thing and employing other people, like having them be with you, following you around, that's starting to become dangerous for these people. Whether it's, especially if the stuff is untrue. But some of these sound very believable. This situation sounds very believable. Now, him being mortified, I can't believe they went there with that. Would I have been? Not really. If anything, my whole thing is he probably mad that he couldn't join in. You know what I'm saying?
Do you know what my thought was, honestly? Because that just seems weird to me, is that he's gay. That was my thought. Maybe he's gay. Because why would you find that mortifying? First of all, that sounds like a lawyer statement anyway. So he probably didn't even. Yeah, that sounds like a lawyer statement. So he probably didn't even write that anyway. But he still, I'm pretty sure, co-signed it. And I don't know, he's making himself look like the victim. But really, bro, you were mortified at that. So that's why I was thinking to myself, maybe he's gay. Maybe he just don't like women.
That might be the thing. So I didn't even think about that angle, but and her people are called hotties. My bad, hotties. My bad, hotties. I ain't mean that.
Isn't that what I said? I think I said hotties. I think
you probably did. You probably did. I don't even know these things. But yeah, man. So that's an interesting caveat. You know what I'm saying? Hey, bro, if you ain't like that, my bad. But this story sounds crazy. Now I ain't into shaming dudes, because you know what I'm saying? Because people could be just against women on women, and he could have been mortified by that, But here's my thing, bro. Here's my thing, bro. You know what I'm saying? Hey, if she busting it down like that, you know what I'm saying? But he gotta sue. He didn't get paid. He just want to get paid. And he needed something as leverage, to use that this was an unprofessional work environment. And so he just trying to get a check. So he needed some type of evidence, and this was the bit of evidence that he was providing, I guess, or a story that he's providing. It's all alleged that, what I'm saying, she was around there giving it up next to him. But that's pretty wild. The fat shaming, I'm pretty sure that went on. But if bro didn't need to eat more that day, and she was like, bro, you need to slow down. Like, I don't know where the line is with this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Especially when these people feel like, oh, okay, you think it's sweet, you're not going to employ me anymore. So it's a wild thing, bro. And it feels like a bit of a plate that's going on. It feels real Lizzo-ish. The Lizzo one felt like it was a little bit more concrete of, hey, man, it seems like some real bullying dynamics going on here. But this one seems like a reach to me. What are your thoughts, man, on Homeboy being absolutely disgusted with Megan Thee Stallion throwing it back right next to him?
Yeah, this seems to be a trend, is accuse former employers of hostile work environments. It seems like a trending thing to do.
Yeah.
I don't know. Obviously, I don't have a dog in this fight, so I don't know who's telling the truth. This is all alleged at this point. I will say that we should keep the same energy, because I think if it's a man who's being accused of a hostile work environment, especially sexual harassment, even if it's unproven, even if we don't know what's true, what's not, and it's all alleged, he's getting destroyed.
That's true.
He's guilty before proven innocent, because we just kind of we have this weird thing that we do where we just automatically assume that because he's a man, he's a creep. So, like, if we're gonna do that, then let's just start looking at her as a creep. Because if this was a guy, we'd be like, he's a creep, or at least he's a potential creep. But I feel like with her, it'll be like, well, let's just wait until all the facts get out. So I just want to keep the same energy, because a lot of these chicks out here are dictators. These women in positions of power, like I forget what the topic was, but one of these topics that we did, I said one of the things that I hated about Me Too. I think it was when we were talking about whether Drea Michelle is a predator because she's with Jalen Green. I think that's the video. And I think one of the things that I said is one of the many things that I hated about Me Too was that it perpetuated the notion that men are inherently creeps and offenders. And my contention to that is I don't think it is gender specific in terms of inherently being a creep or an offender. I think that when you are in a position of power for too long, the power will corrupt a human and they will become a creep and an offender as a result, whether you are a man or a woman. I don't think it discriminates based upon gender. So women can be corrupted by having too much power for too long. And a lot of these women who have a lot of power and operate unchecked because of what's between their legs tend to get corrupted and start doing whatever the hell they want. And they leave a lot of people in their wake as a result. And it isn't always just men, it's women too. That's what Lizzo got going on. Because those dancers that are accusing her of a hostile work environment, those are females. So my whole thing is let's just keep the same energy across the board. If dude who does that is a creep, allegedly, potentially, then she's a creep, allegedly, potentially. You know? And the last thing that I'll say, I don't listen to her music, but I've heard a lot of her songs, and a lot of her songs are mean. She just has a lot of mean. She has a lot of mean. She has a lot of mean songs.
Yeah.
Like the tone of her songs are just like mean. And I know she's getting to the bag and she a boss. And, I know what a lot of people are going to say when they hear this is, oh, you just threatened by a strong black woman. No, she just sounds like she's mean. Okay. Sorry. Don't play that BS with me. She just sounds like she's mean. If it was, I call these male rappers out all day, every day. So it ain't got nothing to do with her being a woman or being black or strong or confident. I don't give a damn. She just be sounding mean in a lot of her songs. Mean towards men. She always talk about how she don't, men are whatever to her. Very Glorilla-esque. I think that's why they so friendly with one another. They both talk about the same thing about how men ain't this and men ain't that. Men are just objects to be used at their disposal. They throw them away. They ain't nothing. They're worthless, useless, trash. Basically, is how they describe men. Otherwise, in their music, a lot of it is just mean-spirited, just mean, going at people, talking down bad about people, being dismissive, being condescending, being patronizing. So if it actually turns out that in real life she's a mean person, she kind of already laid the foundation for it through her music. So we'll find out as this story progresses, obviously. But let's just keep the same energy. If she's a potential, if a guy who is accused of these kinds of things, even if it's civil and not criminal, we look at him as a creep potentially, then let's look at her as a creep potentially too.
No, hey, 100, man. Because when you saying it, because I'm just looking at this like, Meg going crazy, in the back seat. So, I'm like, so, bro. But the inverse, like you said, now if that was a woman that saw the inverse of her Diddy boss, yeah, going toe to toe with one of his rappers. You know what I'm saying? In the backseat of the car. That's egregious. All right, that is mortifying. So yeah, man, let's keep that same energy. You know what I'm saying? So that's wild, bro. Hey man, this is a new day, bro. This is the future. We living in it, man. I never thought I would see a story like this. Like if somebody said this story back in the 90s, like in 1999, somebody gave this exact story, and this was a headline, this guy would be getting thrown, this guy would be getting dragged all over the place. But we got to respect victims. So let's let know. And I'm not victims. Let's respect this guy. We're flipping the script, man. Like, let's respect this dude and let him get his justice, man. But as we all know, man, what's the saying, bro? Innocent until proven guilty. So yeah. let's also side with Megan here. But this was I shouldn't be laughing at this story, but it sounded like bro just want to check. So I'm gonna laugh a little bit at it. So crazy stuff, man. 2024.
Yeah, 2024. Yeah. I don't know. A lot of her songs are just mean, man. I don't know. That's just me. I kind of feel like, but that's not unique unto her. I feel like a lot of these female rappers are just like mean. But then I feel the same way about these dudes. Like I feel like the music is just, sometimes unreasonably mean and aggressive.
Absolutely.
Excuse me. So, whether it's a male rapper, female rapper, I kind of feel the same across the board. And if it turns out that she is maybe not necessarily the nicest person in the world, I wouldn't be shocked. I just wouldn't be surprised.
She messed up if she really did have sex, but all the other stuff she could have just played that off if he can prove the sex thing. But the sex thing is unprofessional. And if I was hired here to just be a camera person and not a born recorder, then you did cross the line. So it's wild, man. It's crazy, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Shouts out to Megan Thee Stallion. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck.
Good luck to Mr. What's his name? Emilio. I forget his last name. Good luck to you too, sir.
Good luck, young man.
Yeah, get the bag, brother. We're gonna go ahead and close out on the stream, man. Good stuff. Conscious Approach in the books. JV Wins, Dogon SS. As always, like and subscribe to the channel, man. Leave a comment. Let us know what you think about the commentary in this or any other video. Conscious Approach on Instagram at Con Approach, CONAPPROACH. Be on the lookout for the audio feed wherever you get your podcasts. We begin to upload those audio files, and check me out on Instagram at JVWins, JVWINS. Think for yourself, people. Think for yourself. Don't be a narcissist. Be kind to people in public spaces. Be respectful. And until the next video, we will see you later.
100. And the name is Dogon SS. You can find me on Instagram at Dogon_SS and on YouTube at Dogon_SS. Also on TikTok at Dogon_SS over there as well. And as I say on every part, guys, don't be too high, don't be too low. Keep it calm, keep it chill, keep it player, and don't let anybody get you off your pivot. All right. So until the next time, my people. All right, we'll catch y'all on the flip side.
Yes, sir. We are out. Peace.
Peace.
Go Nuggets, baby. Go Nuggets.
Yeah, and go Heat, but go Nuggets. So take them out. Get them out of here. Sheesh.